Imagine walking through a grand marketplace filled with merchants selling trinkets, food, and fine silks. Everything glistens under the warm sun, and yet, tucked away in the shadows, is a figure with the most inviting smile of all. He offers you a golden cup, encrusted with jewels, promising the sweetest wine. But the moment you take a sip, you feel a strange numbness, a quiet corruption slipping into your veins. You see what appears beautiful on the surface is not always pure within. This is the nature of those we call evil, not the monsters of bedtime stories with horns and fangs, but those who move unseen, smiling, speaking softly, and yet leaving devastation in their wake. They do not strike with swords or fire, but with whispers, with subtle glances, with an energy that slowly erodes your very sense of self. Imagine walking through a grand hall where every person you meet wears a finely crafted mask. Some masks are adorned with gold and jewels, others with soft, inviting smiles. They bow, they shake your hand, they speak in the gentlest of tones. They tell you what you want to hear, mirroring your desires, reflecting back the image of the person you long to trust. You feel at ease, comforted, as if you have finally found someone who understands you. But here is the question: how do you know what lies beneath the mask? How do you know if that kindness is real? Evil in its truest form does not come at you with claws and fangs screaming of its wickedness. No, the greatest deception is always wrapped in beauty. The most dangerous people in your life will often appear as the most charming, the most generous, the most understanding. They will say the right words, perform the right gestures, and lead you to believe that they are on your side. This is not mere coincidence. It is a carefully constructed performance. And yet, there are cracks in every mask. If you look closely, if you listen carefully, you will see them. The illusion of goodness can only last as long as it remains unchallenged. Think of the person who showers you with compliments, but grows cold the moment they are not the center of attention. Think of the one who offers kindness, but only when there is something to gain. Consider those who make grand promises, swearing loyalty, love, or friendship, only to disappear when you truly need them. The illusion of goodness is a currency. They give, but always expect something in return. One of the clearest signs of false goodness is inconsistency. A truly kind person is kind no matter who is watching. But an evil person wears different faces for different occasions. Watch how they treat the people they believe are beneath them. The waiter at a restaurant, the stranger who cannot offer them anything. Their tone may shift, their warmth may cool, their mask may slip for just a moment. It is in these moments that the truth is revealed. Another sign is how they handle honesty. If you gently challenge them, if you ask a question that makes them uncomfortable, do they remain open? Or do they become defensive, shifting blame, twisting words? Do they make you feel guilty for even doubting them? True goodness does not need to defend itself. False goodness, on the other hand, must be protected at all costs. Perhaps the greatest trick of all is the way these people make you doubt yourself. They will frame their actions in such a way that even their cruelty appears noble. If they betray you, it is because they were forced to. If they hurt you, it is because you made them. If they abandon you, it is for your own good, and because their initial illusion was so convincing, you hesitate, you question yourself, you wonder if perhaps you were wrong about them all along. But here is the truth. Goodness does not need to be proven. It does not need a grand performance. It does not seek to control or manipulate. Real goodness exists in quiet moments, in unseen acts of kindness, in the steady presence of someone who is there, whether or not they benefit from it. So when you encounter someone whose kindness seems too rehearsed, too perfect, too tied to their own benefit, look deeper. Pay attention to the small inconsistencies, the way they treat others, the way they react when their illusion is threatened. Because not all that glitters is gold, and not all that smiles is good. Picture yourself in a grand ballroom, the chandeliers casting a golden glow across the polished floor. A hand extends toward you, an inviting smile urging you forward. The music swells, and before you realize it, you are swept into a dance, one where you do not lead. Step by step you follow, unsure how you ended up here, unsure why your own movements feel dictated by the rhythm of another. This is the dance of manipulation, and if you are dealing with an evil person, you will always be the one being led. True manipulation is not brute force, nor is it outright deception. It is subtle. It is the quiet reordering of reality, the slow erosion of your confidence, the careful redirection of your thoughts, until you no longer trust your own mind. You do not even realize you are dancing until you try to stop. And by then your feet have learned the steps so well that stopping feels unnatural. At first, the manipulator seems like your closest ally. They are charming, attentive, and deeply interested in you. They listen to your struggles. They remember small details. They offer support in ways that feel almost too perfect. But this is not kindness. This is an investment. They are learning you, mapping out your weaknesses, understanding what moves will best control your steps later. And then the dance begins. Step 1. The subtle shift in reality. A manipulator never starts with outright control. Instead, they introduce doubt. Perhaps it is as simple as a casual remark. Are you sure that happened the way you remember? I think you might be overreacting. You worry too much. You need to relax. These statements seem harmless at first, but over time they add up. They plant seeds of uncertainty in your mind. Suddenly you start questioning yourself. Did you misinterpret that situation? Are you really being too sensitive? The more you doubt yourself, the more you begin to rely on them as a guide to what is real. And just like that, they have taken the lead. Step 2. The confusion of words and actions. Manipulators are masters of contradiction. They say one thing and do another, leaving you constantly off balance. They may tell you they care deeply about you, yet their actions leave you feeling abandoned. They may insist they respect you, yet their behavior subtly undermines your confidence. They may apologize for hurting you, but somehow you end up feeling like the guilty one. The inconsistency is not an accident. It is designed to keep you guessing, to keep you seeking their validation, to keep you striving for a version of them that does not truly exist. One day they are warm, the next they are cold. One moment they praise you, the next they criticize you. You never quite know where you stand, and so you try harder. You put in more effort. You adjust yourself to fit their expectations, hoping to earn their approval. But the goalposts always move, and no matter how well you dance, you will never lead. Step 3. Isolation through confusion. Once they have you doubting themselves, once they have you seeking their validation, the next step is to make sure you do not have outside voices interfering with their control. They may not tell you directly to avoid others, but they will plant the idea subtly. Your friends don't really understand you like I do. I've noticed that person is jealous of you. Be careful around them. I just feel like other people are influencing you in the wrong way. Little by little, they create a divide between you and those who might see the manipulation for what it is. They position themselves as the only person who truly understands you, the only one who has your best interests at heart. And so you withdraw. You trust them more. You turn away from the voices that could have pulled you back to reality. Step 4. Control without chains. The true genius of manipulation is that it does not require physical force or explicit commands. A skilled manipulator never has to say, "Do what I want." Instead, they make you believe it was your idea all along. They make you feel guilty for disappointing them. They make you believe that their happiness depends on your choices. They make you feel that if you walk away, you are the cruel one. And so you stay. Not because they forced you, but because you feel that leaving would mean betraying them. This is the ultimate trick. You are no longer just following the dance. You are leading yourself into the steps they have taught you, breaking the pattern. But here is the truth. Once you see the dance for what it is, you can step away. The moment you recognize manipulation, its power weakens. When you begin to trust your own perception, when you no longer seek their validation, when you stop feeling guilty for walking away, that is when you take back control. It is not easy. They will try to pull you back in. They will remind you of the good moments, the times they were kind, the times they made you feel special. But remember, kindness from a manipulator is never free. It is always part of the game. You do not owe them a final conversation. You do not owe them an explanation. You do not owe them a place in your life. You simply stop dancing. And in doing so, you reclaim your own rhythm. Imagine standing in front of a great ancient tree. Its bark thick, its branches stretching toward the sky, its presence commanding and strong. But when you knock upon it, you hear a hollow echo. The wood is rotted from within, its strength an illusion. It stands not because it is full of life, but because it has learned how to appear so. This is the nature of a person with a... They move among us, laughing when we laugh, crying when we cry, saying all the right things at all the right times. But if you look closely, if you listen carefully, you will see that something is missing. There is no true depth to their emotions, no real connection to the feelings they claim to express. They do not experience love, joy, or sorrow in the way that others do. They only imitate, and they have learned to do it well. At first you may not notice. In fact, they may seem to be the most charismatic person in the room. They have a way of making you feel special, of locking onto your deepest desires and mirroring them back to you. If you seek kindness, they will appear kind. If you crave understanding, they will become the most empathetic soul you have ever met. It is a performance so flawless that you do not think to question it. But over time, the cracks begin to show. The absence of genuine emotion, a hollow-hearted person does not feel as others do. They understand emotions intellectually, but they do not truly experience them. They know when they should express sadness, when they should offer comfort, when they should act as if they care. But something about it always feels just a little off. You may notice that their emotions seem exaggerated, too theatrical, too perfectly timed. Or perhaps the opposite. In moments that should stir deep feelings, they remain eerily detached, their reactions mechanical, as though they are reciting lines from a script rather than responding from the heart. When they express sadness, do they truly grieve, or do they simply mimic the gestures of sorrow? When they offer comfort, do they truly care, or are they merely saying what a good person would say? Pay attention, because while they may fool the world, they cannot create what does not exist within them. Love as a means to an end. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of a hollow heart is their approach to love. To them, love is not an emotion, it is a tool, a currency, a means of gaining control. They do not love in the way you do. They do not experience the warmth, the vulnerability, the deep ache of connection. Instead, they see love as a transaction, a series of moves in a game they intend to win. At first, they will say everything you have ever longed to hear. They will become your perfect partner, your most loyal friend, your greatest supporter. They will make you believe in them. And then, once they have secured your trust, once they know you are invested, the mask begins to slip. Suddenly the warmth fades, the kindness disappears, and you find yourself desperate to regain the love that once seemed so abundant. But here is the cruel trick. They never truly loved you to begin with. They only gave just enough to make you believe they did. And now they watch as you try to earn back what was never real in the first place. Empathy without substance. A hollow-hearted person will often speak of empathy, yet they do not possess it. They may claim to understand your pain, but in reality they only understand how to manipulate it. They do not feel guilt for hurting others. If they apologize, it is not because they regret their actions, but because they wish to maintain control. They do not grieve lost relationships because relationships to them were never about connection. They were about power. If someone no longer serves their purpose, they discard them, and if that person protests, if they express sadness or betrayal, the hollow-hearted one will watch with curiosity, perhaps even amusement, but never with real remorse. Because to feel remorse, one must have a heart. The empty core. Perhaps the most unsettling realization is this: beneath their charm, beneath their rehearsed emotions, beneath the web of deception they weave, there is nothing. No depth, no warmth, no true self. A person with a hollow heart does not even know who they truly are. Their entire existence is built upon imitation and survival. They collect traits from others, borrowing pieces of personalities like a thief in the night. They are chameleons, adapting to whatever environment benefits them most. And when no one is watching, when they are alone with their own reflection, what do they see? Nothing. Because without an audience, without a role to play, without a person to manipulate, they have no identity of their own. They are an echo in an empty room, a ghost that wears 1,000 faces but has no face of its own. Escaping the hollow heart. The danger of such a person is not just in what they do, but in what they take from you. They drain you, leaving you exhausted, questioning yourself, wondering if you are the problem. They pull you into their emptiness, making you feel as if love is a game, as if kindness is conditional, as if connection is always fleeting. But here is the truth. You are not like them. You feel deeply. You love with sincerity. You grieve, you hope, you dream, and the only way to protect yourself is to walk away. Do not waste time trying to make them feel. Do not search for the heart they do not have. Do not let them make you believe that you are unworthy of real, genuine love, because in the end it is not your heart that is missing. It is theirs. Not all harm is accidental. Not all wounds come from carelessness. There are those who do not destroy by mistake, but by design. They do not stumble into cruelty. They walk toward it with purpose. To recognize a truly destructive person, you must first understand that their intent is never what they claim. They do not wake up and announce their desire to harm. They do not wear a sign that reads danger. Instead, they disguise their destruction as something else, something justifiable, something unavoidable, something that in the end they will make you believe is your fault. They do not simply hurt. They orchestrate pain. And worse, they enjoy it. The pleasure in breaking others to an evil person with destructive intent. Suffering is not a regrettable consequence. It is the goal. They thrive on the sight of someone unraveling, on the slow collapse of confidence, on the flicker of doubt that spreads into full-blown self-destruction. It is not enough for them to succeed. They must also see others fail. It is not enough for them to feel powerful. They must see others weakened. And so they set the traps, a well-placed insult disguised as a joke, a false rumor whispered with the sweetest concern, a cruel betrayal, played off as an unfortunate misunderstanding, and when you finally break, When you lash out, when you collapse, when you show the pain they have so carefully cultivated, they will smile. Not outwardly, of course. No, they will play the role of the innocent, the misunderstood, the falsely accused. But inside they will relish the damage they have caused. Because that was always the point. Destruction disguised as righteousness. One of the most insidious tactics of a destructive person is the ability to make their cruelty seem justified. They do not attack without reason. They create one. They will provoke, manipulate, and distort reality until they can claim that their actions were necessary. They will tell you that you forced their hand, that they had no choice, that they were merely defending themselves. I had to do it. Look what you made me do. I'm just being honest. If you can't handle the truth, that's your problem. I didn't mean to hurt you, but if you weren't so sensitive, this wouldn't be an issue. In this way, they do not just destroy, they convince you that the destruction was your fault. And so you apologize to them. You doubt yourself. You wonder if you are too sensitive, too irrational, too difficult to love, and all the while they watch, knowing they have successfully turned your own mind against you. The long game of psychological warfare. A truly destructive person is patient. They do not need to break you all at once. In fact, they prefer the slow erosion of your spirit, the gradual dismantling of your confidence, the methodical poisoning of your mind. A single act of cruelty may be obvious. A pattern of subtle, well-timed attacks, that is far more dangerous. They will start small. A dismissive comment here, an eye roll there. When you notice and confront them, they will laugh. They will call you dramatic, accuse you of imagining things. And so, you will doubt yourself. You will hesitate. Then they will escalate. They will begin to withhold affection, pulling away when you need them most. They will play with your emotions, switching from warmth to coldness without warning. They will gaslight you, rewriting history until you no longer trust your own memory. And when you finally collapse under the weight of their manipulation, when you cry, when you rage, when you beg for them to stop, then they will play the victim. They will point to your reaction as proof that they were right about you all along. See? You're the unstable one. You're the problem. And in that moment, when you feel the most alone, the most confused, the most desperate for clarity, they will win. The satisfaction of control more than anything. A destructive person craves control, not just over situations, but over people. They want to dictate how others feel, how they think, how they see themselves. They want to be the architect of your reality. And so they chip away at your independence. They isolate you, subtly pushing away your support system. They undermine your confidence, making you question your own abilities. They make you dependent on them for validation, for approval, for a sense of worth. And once they have that control, they do not let go easily.